Hello and welcome to Afterlife Topics and Metaphysics, and tonight we are discussing the infamous SEX thread on the Facebook forum. And I say infamous because well, for one thing, it always seems to keep getting resurrected. So we think the thread is finished and people come back to it again. For a very simple question, you end up with 410 comments, and some of the gnarlier debates I've seen on the Facebook forum, I've had to ban multiple people from this thread who came down very aggressively against other people's ideas, demanding that no naughty stuff can possibly happen once you cross over from this dimension, and that it's like their whole belief system is predicated on a form of, I guess, Puritanism. And then this debate, at least three people I've had to kick out of the group as a result of them just flying off the handle because of this subject. I mean, it's not even you would think it was like politics or something, but it wasn't. And here is the actual opening post of the thread. I kid you not. Serious is Spirit World SEX. By the way, I'm just on tripwire here with the YouTube censors for this topic. This is going to be a lot of fun with the euphemisms, trying to keep this thing fitted to their criteria. Okay. Serious is Spirit World SEX more or less the same as Physical World lovemaking? Would I still have a peen? I can't even say that. I mean, it's just anatomical parts, nose, mouth, ears, eyes, nipples, and wiener, peen. I don't know. I hate YouTube. Okay. Would I still have a peen? And by the way, at this point, you may want to also check to the video before this one that was called How Physical is the Astral Body. I think that video will help answer that question probably better than I can on this video. But well, it's kind of funny. There is a GIF that was posted here. Me think why waste time, say lot word. We think why waste time, say lot word when few word do trick. Kind of agree. The short answer, of course, to this question is yes. But then if you want to editorialize and talk about who is enlightened and who is unenlightened and all of this kind of nonsense, then you end up with these ridiculous arguments and fighting. But there were very good points on this thread, which, by the way, as you can see, it's 41 weeks old. So that's how old this thread is. This is from a long time ago, back in simpler times in life when you could do things like eat at restaurants and go outside, back in simpler days. So anyway, so there was some really good points on this thread. I want to bring them up again because this topic almost, it comes up at least once a month. And so it's good to have some resources for people to listen to and direct them to so that the same fighting and same issues don't just keep arising again and again. And by the way, if you like these kind of crazy topics, you are watching Afterlife Topics, please go down and hit that subscribe button, like the video, hit that notification bell, give me a hand, please, with that to help keep the channel going. Okay. So let's highlight a couple of the comments from here, and a lot of old time posters who have long since left the forum on here. Some funny stuff I can't even repeat on the video because of YouTube. So anyway, so there's some good points here. So somebody named Luis Grice basically points the finger at men and saying, "Why, it's only for men who would be interested in doing naughty stuff. On the other side, it's just a male thing, isn't it?" And then there was a nice rebuttal to that by Kim here saying, "Hey, a lot of non-men think about it all the time too." Let's see if we can expand that a little bit. No, I'm not connected. Let me just reconnect real quick. Okay. She continues, "It's literally one of the greatest things about being human and probably the thing that most people are scared to ask about most. So it's not surprising every time it comes up, the thread freaks out. And that's a really important point, isn't it? So people are just a bit ashamed to admit that this is such a valuable, such an important part of this human experience, and the idea of bringing that with us is a big deal. Even if there's a superficial biological element like, do you have a peen, do you have a vag? It goes beyond that into, I think, a higher level, bigger topic. And I illustrate this in a response that I made. And I said it's not just that the P goes in the V. It's about connecting with our polarities, which, as I just said, goes above and beyond our normal types of relationships. SEX itself can range from meh, just some kind of a crazy transcendental experience with someone else that is uniquely personal. And then some other times it might be meh again. But it's a big part of things and means a lot more to people than we admit. Now I'll add to this, I may have even mentioned this before, that it's a fundamental element of the romantic relationship. Most romantic relationships begin as sex attraction-based situations. And you feel the attraction for somebody, and that ignites like a flame. The flame turns into something a bit like more romantic, and a proper relationship has this kind of chemistry between these different types of energies, the sexual to the kind of romantic. And it's kind of this harmony between these types of energies. Now, wouldn't it be absurd to say that no kind of romantic love exists on that side, right? That would actually be quite antithetical to the concept of these higher dimensions, where forms of love apparently are the most important thing, and they rule the roost on the other side. That's what life is all about. Well, on this side and that side, we're just pursuing love in its different forms. So why would this element be taken away? If you were to scalpel the sexual experience from the dynamic, you'd only be left with a kind of platonic interactions between people, which would actually interfere with that polarity, the tensions between the sexes, or at least the spirit of the sexes, even if the sex is the same. Oh man, I said sex. Well, there goes monetization for this one. But anyway, it's that energy, it's that polarity that attracts this, and this is just a representation of, I think, a higher dimensional concept. And on this plane, it's also used for reproduction, but it is definitely a higher dimensional thing. And when you go into Tantra, and we learn about this, then that illustrates it very well how tantric masters are tapping into the higher dimensional form of this and finding it is way better than the clunky kind of sex that we're used to. And I think one of the reasons so many people are so into this and consider it to be of such great importance is because it is kind of flirting with a even higher dimensional, even greater expression that we're getting closer to via the physical act. And so the idea of that being ripped away would again be very antithetical, wouldn't it? But of course, then we have somebody named Marty Mathis who comes in, no sex on Spirit World, Isn't it interesting how these kind of Karens out there, no offense to the people named Karen, but the ones who are on one hand are peddling essential oils, and on the other hand, they're basically telling people the way to live their lives. Isn't it interesting how some of these types of people come in, I demand to talk to the manager type personalities, and they can just infuriate so many people using the most Spartan language possible. So they can make the smallest post, say the smallest thing, and just know how to get under everybody's skin. So everyone is having this very detailed conversation, thoughtful conversation about the subject, and then you have some lady comes in, no sex on Spirit World. So then we have, of course, Edipon. She pretty much blows up that response by saying, which is an idea that originates from Christian Puritanism. They claim there is no naughty stuff in the afterlife. We are all spirit siblings there, brother and sister. No, none of the. and that sex is evil because it is selfish and distracts us from the love of God and loving everyone equally. So when you spread that view, you're agreeing with Christian fundamentalism. It's true. And a bunch continues. I've seen modern Christian evangelicals making the exact same statement. It originates from them. Anti-sex New Agers got their idea from their Christian upbringings, and that's exactly what happened. So people from the New Age community who begin really pushing this kind of church lady, isn't that special kind of new, kind of Puritan stuff, and inserting it into modern spiritual studies. What's happening is that what they're doing is basically just reinterpreting what they were taught in Sunday school. They never actually got that out of their minds. So then there was a famous which button do I press meme. SEX is evil and wrong and forbidden in the afterlife. SEX isn't evil or wrong, but is still forbidden in the afterlife for no reason. So those are the two buttons to push. The people who really are on the puritanical side, they either say it's impossible or they say it's not impossible, but it's not allowed. So once you cross over and you're in a perfectly healthy physical astral body, which doesn't suffer from the illnesses or diseases you have here, and everyone looks beautiful, everybody looks hot, but nobody can get with each other because it's forbidden by astral police. That either sounds like a really bad reality TV show or some version of hell. So blah 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 blah. So let's move on a little bit. So I really want to cap this off though by getting Jürgen's opinion. So this was Jürgen's master stroke response to the subject. And of course, Jürgen Ziva, the great Jürgen Ziva, author of Multidimensional Man, Vistas of Infinity, and one of the great out-of-body explorers in history. And so his opinion is this: it is important to bear in mind that what we call non-physical is actually primary to the physical. So I like how he puts in quotes non-physical, because these are arbitrary terms. Nothing physical can exist if it is not prototyped, conceived, or designed in a much higher dimensional, quote, non-physical level. So down here, we only get a much poorer representation of what would be known as divine food up there. For example, to our very basic watered-down version of culinary delights. Okay, in association with food, it's just a lower dimensional example of a higher dimensional concept. SEX, which is a poor cut down version of a divine SEX experience, or the experience of unity melding of two souls, which to us here is little more than having an or something blank 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 gasm, but is a rather poor and cut down version of the real thing. Physically, we only ever experience a substandard version of those real things. Being physical is not a primary state of consciousness, but rather a very low down sub-reflection of the real thing, very low down the hierarchy ladder of experience. We don't even experience 10% of our sensory capability of what we are capable of experiencing once we are released from the rather crude vehicle which we call our physical body, which we think is the end-all, be-all. And that's what this problem comes down to. That's what this debate comes down to. People think that what we have here is the end-all, be-all, and then when we cross over, we actually have a lesser experience than we have here. Now, talk about getting things completely backwards, but that's what people do all the time. Up to the point of believing that people are ghosts that go boo in the night, and that they are like Buddhist hungry ghosts lusting after the physical experiences that we have here. And so it's this idea that when we cross over, we're all basically screwed, that we're going to have a worse experience than we have here in some fashion or another, and that you have to incarnate to be able to do things that you can't do there. Jürgen is saying it's the opposite. What we do here are just watered down versions of the higher dimensional versions that they have, which are much, much greater, much more grandiose. And that is what could await all of us if we can be in the right frame of mind and cross over and exist on those exquisite levels and not on a lower level that's more like here. We all have the ability to move up and go to those upper levels and experience SEX on an even greater level, much more pure and without the BS we have here. No STDs and no petty games you have to play with people or more nonsense. Things can be experienced on a much greater level, including also food, which was also mentioned. So some of these kind of sensory things that we really love here, instead of having to self-flagellate ourselves and convince ourselves that we must not like these things, we have to transcend beyond them because we won't be able to experience it after we leave. Well, why not enjoy it and then look forward to being able to do all of that on a much greater level, on a higher dimensional plane? Thanks for watching. You can hear me rant about this and more subjects in my first book, Understanding Life After DEATH, or The Afterlife and Beyond. Grab those at afterlifetopics.com or sign up as a patron to get involved in this work with me one-on-one, help support the channel, and help keep this whole show on the road. It's patreon.com/afterlifetopics or at the PayPal. You can check that out at afterlifetopics.com. Sign up for our classes, our bi-weekly discussion roundtable groups at Afterlife University. Just head to afterlifetopics.com, click on Afterlife University. And that's about it. Thanks, guys, for watching. Thanks, guys, for paying attention to these most complex and most crazy of all subjects that are very rarely, very seldom discussed out in the open. But that's what I'm trying to do, is shine a light on these most hidden, most mystical of subject matters, and maybe making them a little bit demystified, right? Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys on the next video.